Hey friends, and welcome back to another pottery template tutorial. Today Bianca is going to be showing us how to make the jug. So first you just want to cut out all the templates along the dotted line and tape together the three parts of JU1. So this is going to be the main body of the template. I will classify this template as an intermediate template simply because it's a little bit bigger than my other templates, and simply when you're working with bigger slabs, it's always a little bit harder. But if you're a beginner, give it a go and let me know how it goes. So first step, we're going to be rolling out a 1/2 centimeter slab, and this is for most of the jug. We're going to be cutting out JU1, JU3, and JU4, so everything but the handle. But since the template pieces are so big here, feel free to roll them out separately, just like Bianca's doing here. Okay, and then we want to set those pieces aside, and we're going to be rolling out a 1 centimeter slab for the handle. That's JU2. Okay, now I recommend letting your pieces dry out a little bit. This will make them easier to handle, especially when working with larger slabs. So what you can do is put them in front of the fan for a few minutes. I usually go for about 10 minutes in front of the fan, or you can wait for a half an hour to let them dry out a little bit naturally. It's completely up to you, and it also depends on the humidity in your studio. So you want them to be less floppy at this stage. So when you're handling the large slab, it's not going to collapse in on itself. Now that our slab pieces have dried out a little bit, we're going to start with the body of the jug. So what we want to do is cut the two straight ends at a 45-degree angle. This will create an overlap that will hopefully create an invisible seam. So you want to score along those lines, and since our piece is a little bit dried out now, we want to add some water or some slip and then press these together as well as you can. Don't worry about making it perfect at this stage. We basically just want to get them together and smooth it out, create a really strong bond here, and we can always go back in and smooth out any seams when it's a little bit more stable. Okay, now it's time to add the bottom. So we're going to be using the round piece, JU4. And the bottoms of my templates are always a little bit bigger than they need to be. That's because for creating the nicest seam, we want to attach first and then trim to size. So you want to set the jug body on top of JU4 and mark where you want to attach. And then you can go in and slip and score and attach them together firmly. Once they're attached, then you want to trim to size and blend the two pieces together. Okay, our next step is to work on the spout. So we're going to be using JU3, and you can see exactly marked on the template where you should cut a 45-degree angle. This will create a more smooth transition between the spout and the body of the jug. So I do recommend cutting at a 45-degree angle. Whether you have this angle cutter tool or not, you can always cut with a needle tool or a knife instead. And then you want to mark on your jug where you will attach the spout. And slip and score that area, as well as the spout itself. And if you noticed any cracking along where you bent the spout shape, this is definitely possible since it's a smaller piece, so it will dry out a little bit faster. If the cracking is minor, you can just use your finger like Bianca is doing to smooth out those cracks. If the cracking is more severe, however, that probably means that your spout is dried out a little bit too much. In that case, I would say just roll it another piece and cut it out again, and skip the drying process for this new spout. Okay, so before you attach the spout, I do recommend cutting out the cutout part that's going to let the water flow into the spout. This is going to be much easier to do now before you attach the spout than later on. And then you just simply want to blend it in. If it's being a little difficult to blend, you can use a sponge to add a little bit of water to really blend that spout into the body of the pot. The smoother you make it now, the more refined it will look in the end. And then as you can see, Bianca is using a bit of water on her finger to kind of round out the end of that spout. Doing this is going to make a much more smooth and less choppy of a pour. So I definitely recommend just rounding the edge of that spout a little bit with some water. Okay, now we're going to move on to attaching the handle. So you want to go ahead and shape the handle and cut each end at a 45-degree angle. You can cut each end either before you shape it or after you shape it, completely up to you. And slip and score as usual. You want to make sure you're slipping and scoring both sides on the handle and where the handle will attach, and then press in firmly. What Bianca's doing here with the ruler is just making sure that the handle is actually opposite of the spout. It's deceptively tricky to make sure that the spout and handle are at perfect opposites of each other. So just have an overview, line everything up, and do the best you can. Okay, final touches. We're just checking to make sure the top is nice and round, the handle is a good shape, and then we're ready to let it dry out. Once the piece is bone dry, we're going to load it into the kiln for the first firing, the bisque firing. And here is our final result. Now we have a really wonderful and generously sized pitcher or jug, however you want to call it, perfect for your summer afternoons for some lemonade or just some water. You can also put some flowers in and use it as a very practical vase. Completely up to you. I hope that you enjoyed this template. Thank you so much to Bianca for demonstrating that for us, and I'll see you again next month with a new template. Bye, friends.